Hey everybody, on this episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers, political discussions are being limited in the school system. Also being limited, cell phones. In the UK, they're trying to ban cell phones for students throughout the schools. And lastly, we're going to talk about a sponsorship of an organization that used to be harmless, but now it's become a big debate. Stick around, Crying in My Car starts now. Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. My name is Devin Siebold. Got my good buddy, Mr. James Yan. We're comedians, the parent, the teacher. We're here to hopefully be that stress relief, and we argue so you don't have to. And James, it's been great seeing you doing good things. I see you doing a lot of shows. I've been doing a lot of shows with board teachers.
Yes.
And man, we had that stellar night. We didn't get a chance to talk about it yet.
We have not.
But you got to see some of the teachers and interact with them
out
at the Dr. Phillips show.
Yes.
So we had the show in Orlando. You had your own stuff going on.
I did.
You were headlining down the street.
Literally down the street.
By the way, a little bit of competition. We didn't sue you. We considered it. I backed off.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I got the letter from your lawyer. So thank you again.
That's okay. But yeah. So you got to interview people, and I'm sure that content's going to come out soon if it's not already out already.
It was amazing to see how excited the teachers are that come see you guys. Like, I thought, oh, yeah, they're going to enjoy this. No, they were pumped up. They're like, oh, my God, you're going to interview me? Can I talk to them? No, you can't talk directly to them. But no, they were so great, though. They were really excited to be there. I got to ask them all kinds of questions like, what's the best part about being a teacher? What are some of the things that you would change if you had the power to do it? And they had interesting things to say.
Right.
They're like, can you blur my face out? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
And we actually had some principals stop by, which was really cool. No.
Principals.
They were good ones.
Okay.
I vetted them all. But just to see how excited people are to actually come out and see one of their own on stage and they can relate to all the things that are going to be said, those people love you guys.
It's a crazy amount of stress relief.
Yes.
It's wild to me, but people will comment on like a post. I'll say, hey, we had a great time in, North Dakota yesterday. And people will comment with like a countdown like you would for Disney World.
Yeah.
And they're like, only 107 more days. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like they love it, man.
They absolutely do.
It is wild. And
Yes.
it's funny too, because I noticed trends.
Okay.
I noticed trends. And we go around and we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows. Okay. And it's so funny to me because Friday and Saturday, people are out there dressed up. They're very nice, and they come out to those the Friday and Saturday shows, and they have a little wine, they partake. And then the Thursday and Sunday shows, there's piles of beer cans in the aisle, and like literal like bottles of like Hennessy that are on the side, completely drained. And we were walking through the crowd to go to the meet and greet after one of the shows, and there was literally a massive pile of cans of Miller Lite. And somebody goes, one of the comics, Jay, I think, goes, oh my gosh, look at that. He goes, look at all those beer cans. And I said, right. I said, you always see that on the Thursday and Sunday shows because it's a school night.
Yep.
It's just stacked up. Like
it's wine on Friday and Saturday.
Yes.
But Thursday and Sunday.
They're like, you know what? Do you have Pabst Blue Ribbon?
Pabst.
Yeah. Question: if I get vodka, can you intravenously infuse?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. It's wild to see the teachers on the school nights, and it's so funny to me because I know that there's like I always see plan ahead people. Plan ahead because I always see groups that didn't completely let everybody know they were going.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, you're here too? Yeah. Oh, you're here. Oh,
I ran
I
into
didn't know
that.
you were
Yeah.
coming. I would have invited you. And it's like, oh, you didn't want to invite them. Because if you did want to invite them, they would have been there. Yeah.
And I did see the other half of that. I saw the huge groups.
Yeah.
Like there was a group of teachers just together. Like we all came from one school. Like who's teaching them now? Like they were all there. Like I saw the massive groups and I saw the different types of teachers. You can kind of pick out, okay, this guy's a PE teacher. Okay, this guy teaches shop. And you could definitely pick out the art teacher.
Yeah.
The art every single time.
Yep.
Like I'm like, you teach art. How did you know? Or you're still wearing a smock. Like,
they always look like Miss Frizzle.
Yes, yes,
art teacher.
Exactly right.
But I love it. It's eccentric. They're very artistic people.
Very, very
and they love
outgoing personalities. It's bubbly, so you can always tell that. I'm getting to learn all the different kinds of teachers out there.
I've also noticed something else. I think single-handedly this tour has increased the stock of cricket. Because literally all the teachers come in their shirts and they're like specialty designed, like first grade team and this and that. And I think we're like the Taylor Swift economic effect, but for crafts.
Yes. boss, look at it. Glitter's up 100%.
Yeah. They must be in town.
Yeah.
It's wild, but it's been a lot of fun. We've been touring the Northeast. I went and spoke at a school, so I do my keynotes, and
nice.
I spent 2 days in North Dakota.
2 days?
2 days in North Dakota.
There you go.
And let me tell you right now, people think that Florida is brainwashed, okay?
Really?
Well, yeah, okay. On the news, we see it. Florida, brainwashed. Those Floridians, they're brainwashed. Look at them down there, they're brainwashed. And then I go to North Dakota.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not talking political, by the way. Everybody's like on edge. What's he going to say?
They are, yeah.
I go to the lovely people in North Dakota. I started talking to them, and I go, oh, it's pretty cold. They go, it's a mild winter. I'm like, it's 1 degree outside. And they're like, yeah, it's normally -60. I'm like, how have you come to accept this?
Yeah. Did you know you can move?
Yeah. I literally think it's so funny how it'll be 1 degree outside, and they'll go, but this is mild. And I go, it shouldn't be.
1 degree.
Yeah. I know. And
I'm 1 degree from passing out.
But it's so funny. You go everywhere, and the whole Northeast and the Northwest and everywhere that it's freezing, they go, this is a mild winter. And I'm like, there's ice outside coating the roads. It's 1 degree outside with a wind chill of -10. And you're like, it's mild.
Yeah. Your freezer is warmer.
I know. You know what's funny is I went into a gas station and it was 1 degree outside. 1 degree.
Yeah.
And I went to a gas station and I opened up the thing to get a drink.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this drink isn't as cold as I'd like it. And I was like, you know what? I just put it outside in a few minutes. It'll be. And I literally did that. Yeah. I sat in my car, I turned on my car, and I put the Coke on the ground. Yep. And I just waited for like 10 minutes.
There you go.
And then I was like, ooh, it's icy.
Frosty. Yeah.
I know. But yeah, it was freezing, man. I loved it. I really did enjoy North Dakota.
Really?
I want to tell you what I did. Okay. So I got 2 days in North Dakota, and they were an amazing school, beautiful school, by the way, a K-5 school with 2 gymnasiums.
For K-5?
K-5. The science classroom that I went into was probably the size of our gymnasium at a high school. Like, it was massive.
Impressive.
They had just the most beautiful facilities.
Okay.
Dream for a teacher. But I didn't have much to do. It's North Dakota. I'm not in actual like rural. I'm not in a city urban North Dakota. Is there an urban North Dakota? But anyways, I'm in like the rural of the rural.
Got it.
You
are.
And I was way out there, and I was like, "What is there to do?" And they're like, "Well, Walmart's open till," and I'm like, "Okay, all right,
yeah,
so not much." And I Googled it and tried to find something, and there was Fort Union Trading Post, and I love history. I taught history.
You do.
I said, I want to go as a teacher, former teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go explore some history. Let's go on a field trip while I'm here. So I drove. It was 20 miles away. I drove, and I'll tell you right now, I'm driving, and I'm not seeing a single car coming or going.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this fort, and I pull up, and it's right on the border of literally the parking lot as you're pulling in the parking lot, it says you're leaving North Dakota.
Stop it.
And then as you leave, it's like, welcome to Montana. And it's like, it's in and out. But there's this fort, and it used to be a trading post between the Native Americans and the soldiers and things like they used to trade there.
Okay.
Skins, furs, things like that.
Absolutely.
James, I went in there.
Uh-huh.
And the door was open, and I was the only person in this massive fort. I went into the armory. There was, cannon doors and everything. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. The only person in this fort.
You're the only person there.
The only person there. And then I went into the gift shop, and it was like, ding, and I hear somebody upstairs go, oh. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And this ranger comes downstairs like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, hey, and he goes, what are you doing here? I'm like, you're open, right? And he goes, yeah, open. Yeah, we're open. And I was like,
are you a customer?
I go, have you had anybody here today? And it's like 4 p.m, and it closes at 5. I go, do you have anybody here today? He goes, oh, no. I said, yesterday? He goes, no. And I was like, does anybody come here in the winter? He goes, no. And I was like, I'm the first person. And he's like,
the only one.
Yeah. You ever been in the gift shop and pick up something and have to go and dust it off?
Yeah.
How do you have dust on the magnets? But yeah, it was.
Did you buy anything in the gift
did.
shop? Okay.
I bought a stocking cap that says Fort Union Trading Post.
Perfect.
I bought a magnet too because I like the magnets where I go.
Yeah, I like that. I like to collect magnets where I'm different cities and stuff. Yeah.
But it was I was the only person, and I bought those 2 things, and I was like, man, I said, you just are out here. He goes, yeah, and I was like, what do you do? He's
all
like,
day.
This. And it's like, but he had nothing to do.
Nothing.
You don't have to maintain something that's 200 years old.
You don't.
It's literally just out there. It just exists.
Here it is.
Yeah.
So is it a tourist attraction? Is what it is?
So I said, is it busier during the summer?
Yeah.
He said, well, we get some groups and stuff like that, but it's never really busy.
Is it more of an educational destination now?
So it's just it's one of those things where we register something as a National Historic Park
you
landmark.
can't tear it down.
And you can't tear it down.
Yeah.
And it's so in the middle of nowhere.
That's crazy.
You have to be going there.
Yeah.
And when you get there, honestly, it's an hour. I mean, there's no audio tour. There's nothing visually striking about it.
Nothing.
No, it's literally 4 walls, a little check-in area, a storage unit, and an armory.
And a gift shop with the ranger who was sleeping.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it was they had a little museum area, but it was.
So,
yeah.
Obvious question. When are you going back?
Well, there's another fort that I didn't go to. This was the big one.
You spoiled yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I bet if I went to the other one, as I pulled in, it would just send a signal to the other guy, and he'd be like, "Oh no, I gotta go over there." He's gotta jog 15 miles to get to
What are you doing here?
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed it though. The people were good in North Dakota. The most hospitable, coolest group. I mean, it was just, they were into it. They loved it. And it was just so much fun. But it was middle of nowhere, man.
Gotcha.
And, but
now, who did you get to speak in front of? I never asked that.
Who did I get to speak in front of?
When you did your speak, is it in front of all the teachers?
The whole whole faculty, which was 30 people.
Okay. 30.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah, but it was
Did you guys
awesome,
all
man.
meet at the fort?
Well, it was funny. It was funny too because they had a mic and speaker set up, and I was like, "There's 30 of us in a small room. I'll just talk." And it worked out just fine. It was great. Yeah.
And they must have really appreciated that.
Oh, they did. They love it. But they had Gary Brooks last year.
Okay.
And me. So they got a little speaking fund, and they like to get some humor out there.
Yes.
I love schools that invite me out just because I automatically know you're cool.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Yeah.
And I just think that they enjoy laughing, and it automatically. It's weird, but when you walk in and they know you're there to make them laugh, it's like our savior. He's here to help us, laugh, and I love that.
Somebody that came in to make us happy.
Yep,
we like that. Now, my biggest question before we move on: when you go to anywhere new, how is the food?
So I ate at a diner.
Okay.
And I like diners.
I love diners.
It was really good.
Okay.
The food there for breakfast was really good. For dinner, they had a Buffalo Wild Wings, and I ended up I just went to the highest rated place, and it was a Sakura, which we have everywhere.
Yes.
There was not a lot of local flair.
That's what I love,
wanted.
though.
Yeah, I wanted local flair.
Yeah.
But the local flair was like a bar or two, that was known for decent food.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. I'm not a bar guy.
The best thing that me and Devin love when we go on any road trip, if we find a mom and pops.
Yeah.
That restaurant, because it's usually really good.
Yeah, they put their heart and soul into it.
Absolutely.
You walk in and they treat you like family. and the waitress has been there for like
Forever.
20 years.
Her name's 3 letters like Flo or Ada.
She smokes taking your order and you're cool with it.
Yes. You light it. Go on.
Go on. Yeah. Just tell me the specials.
So, baby, we got meatloaf. We got salmon.
Yeah. It's always like, it's never one thing that they specialize in. It's like the most random thing. They're like, we have sushi, barbecue, and South, chitlins. You're like,
wait
what?
a minute.
Yeah,
I will take all 3.
well, that's our special.
So-
We got the chitlin sushi.
There you go. Now, if you act now and you buy the meatloaf and everything with it, you get a free ticket to go to the fort. Have you been to the fort yet?
Now let me know when you're going, because that's where I run it. I gotta walk over there.
Hilarious.
It was a lot of fun though. I thought it was great. So
Gotcha.
Shout out to North Dakota. Shout out to all those people at the Board Teachers Comedy Tour. We're having a blast. I hope you guys are laughing as much as we are. Now going on to the teachers in the news. A lot of heavy stuff lately, and I try to make it light. So I got some light stuff going in here.
Okay.
But man, it's like it's weird, but let me tell you right now. So I'm going to read this first article, and I'm going to tell you why I'm reading this article, why we see it. So it says, teachers are limiting discussions about politics and social issues. That's the article title. And they interviewed a lot of teachers, and they said that 18 states have enacted laws limiting discussion on certain topics. Teachers said they are afraid of offending parents, and it found that 65% of teachers are limiting discussion about political or social issues, and that some states are even legally restricting their ability to discuss them. And I mean, we used to have literal debates on political and social issues.
Our school had a debate team, and you would do that.
People, I don't know why we're we're not going to create a good society if we shut off the opinions of others, and
say that twice.
But the thing is that the opinions, I used to sit in debate classes or in social studies classes and talk to other students, and I would hear different points of view.
Yes.
And I would also hear valid points, and we would exchange ideas. I might still come out with the exact same opinion, but I would also go, I kind of get what you're saying.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and it would also give me a new appreciation for their point of view.
Yes.
And man, I just feel like 65% of us limiting any conversation about political or social issues, it makes it a very dangerous world that we're going to live in.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
When you start limiting what you can actually speak about in a classroom and kids don't get that information, where are they getting it from then?
They're getting it from the parents, and the parents where are they getting it from?
That's where I'm,
and then you're just limiting yourself to one side point of view.
That's right.
I remember growing up, and I mean, my parents had points of view.
Yes.
But also, I went to school, and I would look at other students, and I go, maybe I don't agree with what my mom and dad say about this particular subject, because I've talked to this person who is more familiar with that subject.
Yes.
And now I have a different point of view, and I can expand my horizons. And I think that's healthy discussion. But having them just be afraid to teach it, I mean, not even just to teach it. I'm talking about just the discussion in general.
So how do you work around that if a student then says, hey, I have a question about this, and it kind of broaches against a subject that's kind of taboo?
Well,
how do you shut it down?
I don't know.
What do you do?
I saw this happen when I was teaching.
Okay.
So I started teaching in 2007. Okay. So we had an election in 2008 and then an election in 2012. Both those elections, we had school-wide election. We had cast your ballot. Who are you going to go for, Obama or Romney? And here's what this political candidate's saying, and here's this, and here's that. And it was discussions and battles, and we would turn on the Channel 1 News, and they would battle it out and talk about it. And then the very first time I saw a change was Trump. and Hillary. And when that election happened, I never thought I would see it, but I taught government at the time, and literally the district said, don't talk about it. And I was like, I teach government.
You don't want me to talk about an election?
And they were like, no, it's really like volatile. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of anger behind it. Don't talk about it. And I'm like, but that's how we get past it.
That's right.
That's how we get past the animosity and the anger.
Enlightened conversation.
Yeah, enlightened conversation. I see your point of view. You see mine. Let's have, okay, you're very passionate about this. Let's look for the facts.
Yes.
Let's do some research. Back some things up.
Yes.
Debate's gone, but this is the thing. Why did I bring this up right now?
Yeah.
Why are we starting to see? I mean, I was Googling it, and it was teachers fined for this. One of these states opened up a reporting system to report against teachers that may be teaching things that you object to as a parent. Like, there was all this stuff. Why? Why do you think? Why do you think, James?
Because
what year is this?
Election year.
It is an election year.
Yes. But
they're trying to stifle the discussion.
So here's the great.
I'm going to sip my coffee.
Go ahead and sip your coffee while I talk about this. The great thing about living in America is we have all these different opinions that we all can respect and listen to, correct?
Right.
But as you start taking those opinions away, what are you truly left with in school? If you say to them, all right, parents, if you find anything objectionable that you hear that a teacher might be telling your kid, let us know.
Right.
Then everyone's going to say, I have something to object to.
Everybody.
It needs to be taken case by case. It needs to be rationally looked at. Okay, it's just truly damaging to your student, or it's just an opinion that you don't agree with.
Right.
And I'm not trying to tell you how to think. I'm just giving you opportunity to your child to be able to learn a different perspective.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I have an interesting theory, and I don't know if it's true. It's just theory.
Well, I'll tell you. Go ahead. Lay it on
Is it
me.
wrong?
I'll let you know. Go ahead.
Okay. I have an interesting theory. I think in today's day and age, social media has started to take over for parenting. And parents are seeing mannerisms, ideas coming from their kids that they didn't instill because their kids are open to a much wider point of view online.
Yes.
So they, instead of maybe listening to what their children have to say and understanding their point of view, they instead try to control things that they feel they have power over.
That's right.
Like teachers.
That's right.
And I feel like they're grasping for anything to go, I'm a good parent, look at what I can do. I just cussed out that teacher, look at me parent. And it's like, okay, but you're not parenting good.
No,
you're setting a bad example.
It starts with fear. And you said you hit the nail on the head in the very beginning. As a parent, you want to instill good values in your child. And you have your own idea of what those good values are. And nowadays, it's scary as a parent because, like you said, social media has a big influence on your child and what they think. So if you see this outside source having more power than you, it'll mess with your ego as a parent a little bit. You're like, well, how dare that person or that opinion be more important than my own? I'm raising you. Or how can you be listening to this teacher who has a degree in that subject over what my opinion is? So it's scary as a parent. So you will overcorrect it instead of just listening yourself and maybe hearing a different opinion and maybe learning something on your own. You know what I mean? It's no, we got to shut that down.
Yeah.
How dare my kid listen to someone else that's more qualified than I am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's parents are busy. I get that, but
very busy.
But when I think they're coming home and they're talking to their kid and they don't recognize the kid they're talking to.
Yep.
Because their kid's main father figure is a Twitch streamer, and it's unfortunate, but they feel like I need to restrict this, and
You get an argument. You're not my Mr. Beast. What? What?
All right, next one. This one is finally coming to a head. We've talked about it briefly of what actions were happening, but now we're going to get a follow-up officially. Remember, there were some teachers that had expressed support privately towards Palestine, and then they were reprimanded in their schools. Well, in Montgomery County, they're finally getting a lawsuit together. And it looks like the Council on American Islamic Relations has filed a lawsuit alleging that Maryland's largest school district violated 3 teachers' First Amendment rights by placing them on administrative leave because they supported Palestine and criticized Israel. So this is going to be an interesting debate and an interesting suit because not the content necessarily per se, but I think the blanket idea of, do teachers have freedom of speech when it comes to personal political opinions? because that's a big one. Whether it's
Yes.
Israel and Palestine, or your own political views on which candidate you support, or your own political views on, religion or anything really.
Yeah.
This is something that I think we should all pay attention to, because
Absolutely.
it's going to go to probably the highest court, I would say. It'll get appealed
So do
either
I.
way.
So do I.
I think. So it's something to pay attention to.
This is going to set a precedent.
Right.
For,
It will.
for all teachers to come after this.
Yeah. What is our free speech enabling us to do outside of school that can be reprimanded by the school?
Because imagine this. I'll give you a scenario. Imagine you're driving to school, you're a teacher, and you have a whatever candidate bumper sticker on.
Yeah.
At some point, can someone say, well, you can't have that. You parking on school grounds.
On school property.
Yeah.
And you go, well, actually, that's my freedom of speech.
That's freedom,
So,
yeah.
yeah, this is something that, and it can go with anything. I mean,
Yes.
you could have a vegan or coexist or whatever.
Whoa. We need to shut down vegans.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, you're right.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Well, there's our lawsuit. I just got the email. There it is.
There it is.
All right. Over in England, I've been seeing word of this. I love, by the way, in England, they call their higher-ups ministers. Like, I always think Ministry of Magic.
I like that too.
Ministers have moved to pledge to ban mobile phones in schools. The Department of Education said it is going to ensure that it is consistent across all classrooms in England. So they are moving to ban cell phones entirely in England using consistent guidance.
Okay.
That's interesting to me, but
Yeah.
I don't. And it's interesting too, because there are people arguing it's a non-policy for a non-problem. Also, they're saying that teachers are apparently trying to help back this. They said that they would like to ban them during their lessons, but during breaks and lunch period as well, maybe it's a problem too. So I don't know. I mean, is this old heads versus new heads?
Yes.
You think so?
And let me say why. I'm going to say something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to remember being in high school and not having a cell phone.
Same.
So to me, it was, I didn't have one, didn't know what I was missing, so I didn't need it. Nowadays, even with my own children, they never go anywhere without their cell phone. Like
Yeah.
they'll leave without their wallet and car keys, but they have their cell phone in their hand. So I guess I would
And
want to.
the irony is that their cell phone is now their wallet.
Wallet,
and their car keys.
yes. So my question would be, why do you need it as a student? Because if you needed to make, let's say, an emergency call, you can make it in the office. If you need to get in touch with your parent, you can do that in the office.
Yeah.
So I guess my argument would be, why do you need your cell phone as a student? I'm sure, and you correct me if I'm wrong, a cell phone is probably one of the biggest distractions in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a big distraction
Gotcha.
for sure. I don't know. I fought against it at first. No. Then towards the end of me teaching, I kind of started to implement it more. I used it as a tool for them to research. I used it as a tool for them to rehearse.
Okay.
So like we would do presentations, and I would say, take out your cell phone and just use voice recorder and record your voice, and I would say, just talk into it, listen back, and make sure that your timing is correct. You have 2 minutes up there. Make sure you're at 2. So I started to use it as a tool and kind of expand their
That makes
horizons.
sense.
That said, I'm not going to pretend like I was dream teacher and all my kids were using their phone for exactly what I wanted them to do. There were many times where I went around the room and I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
They're all different things, and that's a TikTok dance. That's not a,
Mr. Siebold, say hi to my live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I did, or they'd be FaceTiming their friends, and I'm like, they're in another class. How are they not,
Yeah.
But it was, so I will say I tried to utilize it as a tool.
Okay.
And I think that's what we have to do as teachers is they're given a tool, and we forget a teacher's job is not necessarily to instill just your subject area. It's to instill the skills needed to learn.
Okay.
The desire to learn. That is a tool that they have to learn.
It's true.
We need to, I think, embrace it and figure out a way. Maybe, I always think it's interesting, but why do we not have an education mode?
We have an airplane mode.
We have an airplane mode. You're on an
Yeah.
airplane and it shuts off certain features. Maybe you give them a cell phone that has a new, an Apple. I'm telling you right now, if you use this, I'm coming after you. Maybe
I'm
you
a
have an
witness.
education mode on cell phones.
It only
where
goes
you
to
pull it
certain-
down and it only goes to journalistic documented websites. It shuts
Ooh.
down social medias. You can use the phone actively to make an audio call if you need to make like 911 call or call
Emergency
your parents,
call.
something. Yeah, something like that.
Huh.
But it maybe pauses notifications on text messages, things like that. Why do we not have an education mode?
That's a great. You know what, sir?
I just thought of that.
I'm pretty impressed by that. You know what, Devin Siebold, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He'll be here all week.
All week. But no, I don't know.
that's
Maybe I'm onto something.
Let's look that
Apple.
up. Apple.
Yeah. Tim Cook, listen,
Hey.
call me. I got ideas.
Devin looks great in a what do you call that? What are those things?
Turtleneck?
Turtleneck, glasses. One more thing.
I have to say.
Yes, there you go.
All right. This one, oh, man.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what you think about this, but I think it's true. Studies found that 3 out of 4 say that most pupils leave school without key financial skills. Mm-hmm. So I actually went on Reddit and I was looking at Reddit for research purposes for some of the topics today. And one of the most talked about things was somebody said, quit giving us your kids that aren't ready at a lower level.
Wow.
You know, and I think as a society, you know, I did a state of teaching video where I talked about the unpreparedness of students leaving. We're just throwing out graduations like Pez dispensers, you know?
Yes.
But a lot of teachers said more than 3 in 4 teachers believe pupils leave school without key financial skills, according to a survey in the UK. Yeah. And by the way, I would like to say this. I said this on a state of teaching, and I'm going to tell it to you, James, because I don't think you heard that part.
Okay.
Every time I find studies, it's always in the UK, where they're actually researching trying to better the environment for the kids. We don't do studies over here.
Not for that.
I very rarely find,
No.
like, I find studies, but they're never like, oh, that's a good study. This is, you know, they're trying to go, hey, how many kids are we producing that don't have basic literacy skills in financials? And yeah, apparently in the UK, they're finding that it's not a lot of kids.
Yes.
Not a lot of kids. So
I remember when I went to college, I took a great course. It was an economy course, and they taught us how to balance a checkbook. They taught us the difference between credit and debit and how it's supposed to work. Kids don't know any of that.
No.
None of that.
I taught economics, so we did a financial literacy part, and I tried to teach some of that. But to be honest with you, it was a component of a half-year course,
Got it.
which means that I spent probably 3 weeks on it.
Maybe.
How you limit something that is a lifelong skill to 3 weeks, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the district found a way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hurrah!
3 weeks.
Yeah.
But it was banking skills, financials. But I'm like, this is stuff you're supposed to know forever.
Yes.
You know?
Things that we were never taught, like we had to learn the hard way. And I give a lot of credit to my wife because she understands finances really well. Like she had to teach me some things about how to properly use credit cards. They're not evil. If you use them the right way, they really work.
Yeah.
Like there's an economist, and I forget his name, who said you're using your money wrong if you're using a debit card. You should only use a credit card because it's building your credit up. But it takes you being self-disciplined in order to use it like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. All right. This last one that I want to talk about real quick is one of those that really frustrates me. So in Arizona, the Republican lawmakers are trying to add to a 2002 law that bans public school teachers from referring to students or using sexually explicit materials, making all the basically sexually explicit materials and any like referring of pronouns and things like that. They actually want felonies now for the teachers that violate any of this. Now, what bothers me the most is that it doesn't apply to teachers in private schools. Yeah. So, I mean, you're kind of saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
looks like they're basically wanting to push for any sort of books that they disagree with, any sort of distribution of materials that may have, you know, some explicit words in it. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of books like that we haven't even talked about. You know, one of the books that I remember when I was in school was Forrest Gump. So I checked out Forrest Gump, and it had like 1 or 2 pages of Jenny and Forrest, you know, doing some things.
Yes.
And it wasn't explicit, crazy explicit.
No.
But something like Forrest Gump could be banned in this. And not only that, but if you're the librarian that checked it out or gave it to the child, you could be charged with a felony. But not in a private school. Why that applies to public and not private is really like saying, I want to target somebody. And I disagree with laws like that.
So do I.
You can't just directly target somebody because you are trying to create a scenario.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know.
No,
But-
at face value, that sounds like a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go against people who are trying to spread sexually explicit material. But you dig deeper like you did. You're like, oh, but you're only trying to do it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because
Yeah.
one of the lawmakers said private schools are not showing these sexually explicit materials. It's all doing it in the public schools. But I'll tell you right now, I went to a private school.
Yeah.
And my private school teachers were wild.
Were they okay?
Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
They were wild at people, and
Yeah.
and the kids were even more wild,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was exposed to more at my private school than I was at the public school I went
think
to.
I believe that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, all right, let's go into the last bit here. This last part that I want to go into, I went on Reddit for a little bit.
I told you to stay out of there.
Yeah, I went on Reddit for a little bit, and this one is one that I there's two discussions here that I would like to say. First off, I noticed that there's different changes and things like that in our society. But remember how I told you just a few minutes ago that we changed around the Trump-Hillary area,
Yeah.
that you couldn't discuss certain things,
Yeah.
you couldn't talk about certain things. Do you have heard of GSA, Gay Straight Alliance?
Yeah.
So the Gay Straight Alliance GSA group, somebody that is a sponsor posted on Reddit and said, today I saw a kid rip down all my posters. Now this is a GSA sponsor on campus, and said that these posters were inviting students to meet and greet. And it took me about 4 hours to hang them. I'd seen about 75% of the posters I hung up have been torn down. Never in front of my face. It bothered me so much. It still bothers me. I know to expect backlash and anger and all that, but man, I don't know why I can't get over it. Any other GSA sponsors dealing with hate like this? And the responses were overwhelming.
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, most of the responses were exactly what I just told you. 10 years ago, we didn't have to deal with it. They said 20 years ago, they did. It seems like we had a anger, outrage, and then, okay, acceptance, a little bit better, and everything's fine. Oh, anger and outrage is back. And what was interesting, though, is some of the comments from teachers. Like, there was a comment on there that said that some of my middle school students are the most homophobic kids that they've ever seen come through. Mm-hmm. And they said that a lot of it is social media, the things that they're reading and seeing online, the backlash. And so it's weird, but they were talking about like, oh, they're just trying to turn us this way and this and that. And they're repeating a lot of the talking points that you're seeing.
You see on these posts.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's weird because GSA, I remember having that be a campus activity.
Absolutely.
I never thought anything of it.
No.
I never was like, oh man, I don't like those people,
Not ever.
No, and
Yeah.
as a school, we didn't really have any backlash towards it. But to think that you could hang up posters in a school advertising a welcoming group that tries to unify people and make things better and learn about acceptance, and have 75% of the posters torn down, I mean, that's disheartening,
Well, and here's the thing: as a parent of a gay kid, that's not how that works. Mm-hmm. You can't. It's not the army. You can't recruit. Okay, it's really not.
Yeah, but that's the thing is there's fear that you can't.
Yeah, fear that. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I would go as far as to say this: most of those people with those opinions don't actually know a gay person. And what do you do in that instance, though? In the school when they're ripping down posters, what can that person really do? Nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's sometimes frustrating that this is happening, but even some schools went even further. I read on one teacher posted, in my school, we aren't even allowed to have a GSA because the board will, quote, just eliminate all clubs over it.
Wow.
So so basically said they can't do anything, and the board, if they said, hey, we want GSA, they say, you know what, let's just do away with all clubs.
Wow.
Burn it all to the ground rather than have that. So it is frustrating to see things like that. I don't know what will come of it, but hopefully we'll get past this.
And I did notice a trend. You're right. We got to a
cycles.
place we were like, oh man, look at this. We're more accepting. We're more, I hate to use the word woke. We were. Now it's just like, oh God, no. Like, just, you're like, did I go back to the 80s?
Yeah.
What happened?
It's out this who's controlling the messages of the day.
That's right, the narrative.
Yep, the narrative is there. And, but I worry because teachers are in on this. Teachers have to put up with this stuff.
Yes.
And it becomes another thing that, you're already dealing with problems with parents. Now you got to fight against the students, against your club that's been there for years.
And you're fighting about a subject you can't even talk about.
Yeah, that's
Think
true.
about that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's disheartening for sure, but
hang in there, guys.
Yeah. So, but I was reading all that. I thought, it is what it is, and unfortunately, stuff. Now, I want to talk real quick. Do you remember the last thing I want to discuss? Do you remember some of these clubs like that you had when you were in school?
I do remember some. New Success. My wife was part of FBLA. Do you remember FBLA?
Yeah.
Yeah, were you part of that?
No, I wasn't.
Future Business Leaders of America.
Yeah, I wish.
There was a million clubs that everybody was a part of.
Yeah, we had a lot of clubs.
I was part of the National Art Honor Society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember just the clubs being something that everybody participated in.
Yeah, everybody
enjoyed.
did it. Yeah.
And it was interesting too because we had clubs that some people were really passionate about.
Yes.
That I think today would actually cause problems. Like, on the other side of it, FCA, the Fellowship Christian Athletes, I would see them pray around the pole when I was a kid.
That's where they would pray
at
our school.
Okay, you prayed around the pole, you meet at the pole, and they had a little get together, and some of my friends, there's Cameron, and sometimes I go over there, and it was interesting that we didn't face
twice.
Any backlash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was more of like, that's, if you want to do that, that's great. Mm-hmm. I'm happy for you. And I had some very, very heavily Christian friends. Some of them went on to be, actually two of them that I know were my best friends, and they went on to become pastors.
Nice.
And so it was one of those things where we just talked about it a little bit. Some discussion happened, healthy discussion.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was involved in was student government.
Ah, okay.
So student government, I obviously taught government. I love government.
Gotcha. What position did you hold?
So I didn't hold any positions.
Okay.
I thought about holding a position, but I was just too busy.
Gotcha.
Because I had basketball. And things like that. So I just participated.
Gotcha.
But they did, elections and things.
But it's fun though. Like student government is actually fun.
But it was great learning about how it's supposed to work and how it's supposed to operate. You have a treasurer. You have somebody keeping the minutes. Things like that. Secretaries and all this other. And it was great. But that's something that today, and I don't know, I'd love to hear from other teachers. If you sponsor student government, is it the same today? I mean, or are you seeing the hatred bleeding over into student government? Are you seeing the politics of the real world? Because it never used to be politics of the real world. It used to be like, we want a vending machine,
I remember
and
that.
it was like, let's campaign for a vending machine, and you would fight for a small cause, and usually you'd get it. The school would honor it, but nowadays I'm not sure that it would be like that.
I don't think so, because when my kids were still in high school, and I'm talking about like 4 or 5 years ago, my son Noah, everything that kids argue about now is based in politics.
Yeah.
Everything is social, political issues. And that's become a hotbed because they see it on social media. They go home, they hear their mom talking about it. They hear their dad talking about it. You turn on the TV, it's everywhere.
Dude, I never went to school and was like, that Bob Dole. That son of a Bob Dole. I'm so angry. I never did that because we just didn't care.
As a kid, you didn't, but now it's so prevalent in everything, in mainstream. Okay, here's what it is. We argue about the government the same way we argue about our favorite football team.
Why?
It's so passionate now.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, we could disagree and still get along. Like, not anymore. If you don't think like me, we cannot talk to one another. That's how it is, man.
That's
it's crazy.
Weird. I disagree with that. There's so many good people out there on both sides that I think if we just let go of that,
the hate,
then I mean, I travel all over, and one of the things that I'll say, and I'll end on this, is I see the hardworking rural people up in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Where you got oil fields all over. I went into a gas station at 7 o'clock at night, and there is a guy just, hands worn, face worn. He's got some bunch of like black all over him, like he was in the coal mines, but it was out of the oil fields. And he's been working sun up to sundown. You know that.
Yep.
In 1 degree.
Yeah.
And I have so much appreciation for that man. And I want him to get what he deserves in terms of tax breaks. I want him to be helped. I want his family to have food on the table.
Yes.
You know, and I appreciate something that he's doing that I could never do.
No.
You know, and I want him to appreciate me too, you know? And I feel like we just don't have that camaraderie and exposure to all Americans. They are the most hospitable people. They love life, they love family, they love each other.
Yes.
And they're just trying to fight for something. And then you go to some of the most liberal cities and they have a passion too. And they're arguing about other things and they go, I want this, I want that, I want this. And I think we just, you know, we can't find common ground for some reason, but I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to see it.
It is.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about what we get to do. And I'll end with this. Mm-hmm. When we do a comedy show, I see all those people you just mentioned in one room. Having a great time together.
Laughing.
Yes.
Best buddies.
Yes.
Sitting across from each other.
High-fiving after jokes, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Laughter is a commonality. It hopefully brings people together. So, James, how can people find you to come laugh?
Well, I'm unemployed, so you can find me on the corner.
All right.
With my hand up.
I just fired him.
Just fired me, yeah.
No, you guys he'll be here next week.
You guys can actually find me same place, 2 accounts, Instagram, Facebook, James Yan Comedian. And thank you guys for continuing to support me, like all my silly things, and you guys continue to friend request me. I appreciate you. Thank you for the following.
Awesome. DevinComedy.com, and also check out the Board Teachers Comedy Tour. And then message me if you're interested in having a keynote speaker at your school. It's coming up. You need to book those. August fills up immensely every year, and I have to turn people down. So, you know, if you want some laughter, some insight, some great speaking at your school, let me know. Thank you, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers.
Thank you.
There might be a clip up there. There might be a clip down there. If it's got our face, if it's other people's stuff, come back. Don't click on that, you know. But us, suggested things. That's us. Crying in My Car. Devin, Siebold, James Yan, Board Teachers. Watch. New trailer for Indiana Jones. No, don't do that. Don't do that.